Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jirak and welcome back to some Farming Simulator 25 and our Sobowelo map where we're working our way from nothing to a thriving farm. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that like button, that notification bell, and also don't forget to leave comments down below. And if you're watching live, don't forget to comment in the field. Alright, so we are going to get started here in just a second, but I'm going to mute real quick. Alright, so we're loading up the game. Yesterday, we we ended up getting our first piece of land and just put it in there. I don't want it in the kitchen. We got our first piece of land. We got our um, water filler place put down. Today we're going to be working on a house and getting a couple of greenhouses in. But we have to do contracts to do that. So let's go ahead and see what kind of contracts we got. Alright, no more. We have a bunch of fertilizing. So it looks like we're going to be doing that. Alright, let's see. 109, 145 is up. Alright, well, you know what? We're going to do them all, so we'll just accept them all. Fertilizing. Fertilizing. And fertilizing. And fertilizing. Alright. So let's head back to the store. Get our fertilizer spreader and fill it up. We're going to do 78 first because it's the biggest. Actually, you know what? Let's go to our farm first and drop this off. We need to start getting that stuff brought back. But I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm having a great day. Some FS25. Like I said, we have our own piece of property here. Which is right. Wow, that thing stopped us dead still, didn't it? Which is right up here. You see that big piece of concrete right there? I just went ahead and did the whole thing in concrete. And we're going to park our implements over here for right now. Alright, let's do that. And let's head down to the store, get our fertilizer spreader, and then when we get through with everything, we're going to get all our equipment moved over and see where we are when we get done with these. We should be able to at least get one greenhouse in once we do that. I mean, we almost have enough now, but we're going to buy fertilizer, so. We do have one pallet, so let's, I think if we buy 2 pallets, it'll be relatively full. We'll probably have to get more to finish all these contracts, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and fill that up. And then let's go in here and purchase 2 more. that. Let's get those in here. It's going to get us pretty close to full. We'll get some more here in a little bit. Alright, 78 is right down here, so let's go get that one. Let's go ahead and hit hold H down. Turn this on. Okay. Let's go ahead and cut that off. Stop for a second. Let me get that cut off. It doesn't really help. Forgot it doesn't really work with this spreader. Bring our map back up. Alright, the closest one to us is 109. So let's head that way. Let me look at something real quick. That'll give us a little bit better vision of what we're doing here. Alright, I think we can cut through right here. Let's go ahead and make our map small. And 18 and 15 are right beside each other. like we're going to have just enough to get all these done. Let's head up to our last one, which is 145. So it should give us at least enough to get our house and I think one greenhouse. So we can go ahead and get that started. Get our production rolling. Looks like 145 is this little bitty field here. Alright. Let's go ahead and get over to our farm. We'll drop off our fertilizer spreader. We'll go pick up our plow and our water tanker. And then we're going to put us down a house and hopefully a greenhouse and get that all rolling and going. Drop this right up here. Alright, now let's go back to the store and get our other two implements. That way we'll have all our stuff up at our property. We can go ahead and collect our contracts to see where we are on our money. So that does give us just enough to put down a house and a greenhouse. But then we are going to be broke again. We need to also put down our sell point, so we're definitely going to have to try to find another contract to do. Just to have a little bit of operating money. We can refresh contracts and see if we can't find something else. Let's go ahead and put our plow on the front. Spin around and get our water trailer. Get back to the farm and we'll put down our house and then our greenhouse and we'll start filling that. Getting some production rolling. And I've changed my mind about which greenhouse we're going to put down first. We're going to put down one of the in-game ones. That's cheap. I mean, it'll be slow, but it'll produce what we need it to produce for now, because we're just going to be selling it. Let's go ahead and fill up our water. Let's turn our help menu back on. Yeah. Alright, while that's filling, let's go ahead and buy our house. So, just a little simple house. We got one that's $10,000. And of course, we could get this little trailer. That would save us a little bit of money. So why don't we do that? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get this one right here. Now we have a house. Let's go ahead and get us a greenhouse. We're going to get actually it's not cheaper. I guess we're getting the open air. But we saved money with that, so. Alright, so we can get several of these. I need to see where the triggers are. Okay. Let's rotate that around like this. Just try to get it on the edge as much as we can. Alright. It's still filling water. So we'll jump out of our tractor real quick. So this is our house where we can change clothes, and then where's our sleep trigger at? It's inside. We gotta find the door, I guess. I would assume this is the door. Okay. How do we get in there? I haven't used this one before, obviously. Well, we know how to change clothes, so we can do that at least. This should open up, but it's not. Alright, well, we'll have to go back with the one we were going to do. So let's go ahead and sell that. Alright, and let's move out of the way. Let's go ahead and smooth that back out. have to go with the other one. Well, there's... How big is that one? Well, let's see. Let's try this one. There we go. This one works. We got our sleep turban in our wardrobe, so that works. Now we have a house. Alright, let's see if this thing is full of water yet. It's almost. That's good enough. Our greenhouse isn't going to hold that much. Let's go ahead and put our plow down right here. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's go ahead and fill this thing up with water. Alright, and let's go into productions. Alright, so yeah, this does a lot. We're only going to do strawberries. Oh, okay, yeah, strawberries of water. So we're going to activate that. And we're going to do lettuce with water and tomatoes. So those are the three we're going to do. Alright, it is full. We're just going to drop our water trailer off right there. Alright, let's go ahead and get this spun back around like it needs to be. And let's check out contracts again. We have a cultivating one there, so let's grab that. And it's all the way in the bottom part of the map, isn't it? Well, doesn't matter, we need it. Alright, let's see if there's anything else. Not right now. Alright. We'll do that one and then we'll refresh, but that will give us enough to put down our sell point so we can actually sell our stuff. Ideally, cultivating and plowing contracts because we won't have to spend money on those. So that's what we're going to look for. Because we don't have enough to buy any more fertilizer, right? But we need to get our sell point down. That way, when we do have... let's go back into production real quick. Make sure I had those on storing. They should be. Won't do any good to have them on distributing because we have nowhere for them to go. This one's going to be way down here. Guys, don't forget if you are watching to comment, let me know you're here. I'd love to chat with you. Alright. this field number 50 in front, 150 in front of us. Let's go ahead and get ready to do this field. Alright, let's lower down our cultivator. Alright, let's go ahead and cut our steering assist back on to make this easier for me. Let's go ahead and get the other line over here. Almost done with this one. this should be our last pass here. I hope if we put down our cultivator. Let's go ahead and collect on that one. Not what I meant to do. Alright. No, I don't want to do that. Cancel. And collect. Let's go back here. Alright, nothing new has... Alright, so let's go ahead and fast forward time a little bit. Go to about 1 o'clock. Alright, let's see if any more contracts have come up. There have. Quite a few, actually. Any plowing or... No, just cultivating and a few fertilizing. But these cultivatings will allow us to do what we need to. Let's go ahead and collect all those. Alright, now let's bring up our map. Alright, so where we are, 35, 11. What's the other one? 117. Alright, so 117 is the one that's closest to us. This one's a pretty big field. Go ahead and get we'll let a worker do this one, and that way we can see what they're going to do. let them do the headlands at least. And we can, while he's doing that, we can look at the store, see if there's anything on sale we want. Nope. That does us no good. So the next piece of equipment we want to try to get is, I think we want the lime spreader, which is this is the modded one I got. It's $12,566. It doesn't hold a lot. It only holds 4,200 liters, but it's half the price of the other one that we normally use, which is this one. Or actually less than it's a third of the price, less than a third of the price. So that's probably what we're going to go for. He's going to be doing this a while. We also would like to get us in another tractor, which, I mean, that's probably a little ways off. I don't really like small tractors, but this one here is only 59,000, and then if we upgrade the engine, it's 83. But we could get it with 160 horsepower, which, if I believe it will, I know it'll run the cultivator. I'm pretty sure it'll run the fertilizer spreader. Yeah, doesn't have anything on it. And let's see, the plow takes 260. Wouldn't be very good with the plow, but we could use that tractor to do contracts with while we're using our tractor to do other stuff. So situations like this where it's long cultivating contracts, I can put a worker on it. Obviously right now I'm just doing the worker so we can talk. I'm not going to let him I'm going to let him get the headlands done just so we can do the rest. But let's also planning ahead. I think the first field I want to buy is 47. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, 47 I think is it's 47,000, and then 44 is 60,000, and 45 is 95,000. I'd like to get those three fields. So we'll probably go 47, 44, 45, or 47, 45, 44. And then we want to get all of these fields through here. Now we could skip, but I want to keep them together. So we'll probably get 47, then 45, then 44. Then we'll work back this way. And then eventually I want to have all the way down to here. Basically, just in this area is what we're going to look for to try to like this one here. These over here aren't usable. Doesn't look like so. But this is what we're going to look at. I mean, some of these fields are expensive, so it definitely is going to be a while. But I think we're going to just work that way. So we may just start with 44 and then work our way across. So 60,000 to get that piece of land. But I think realistically, lime spreader's gonna, or actually we need to get a seeder, and then a trailer. So let's look at seeders. Let's look at cedars. Cedars. We have a few modded ones. That one's 3 meters, 4 meters. This one's actually really big, but now I would love to get, if we go into planters, love to get this one right here. Yeah, this one. But none of them are cheap. This one is cheap, but it's 4.5 meters. So we may look into that if we have to. But I think on cedars we're gonna have to go with the old traditional one here, which is 49,000. Yeah, it does 4.5 meters. That's probably what we're gonna have to start with. And then, of course, harvesters. Now, trailers, I can already tell you what I'm going to use. It's going to be this one. Or, or that one. Yeah, this is the one I want. And if we go into, it's going to be 36,000. That's the one we're going to get. And then harvesters, the harvester we're planning on getting, unless we get a really good one up for sale, is going to be this one here, which is 94,000. And then if you add the extra capacity, it becomes 104,000. And then the header we're going to start with is going to be this one here, which is 20 grand. So 125,000 for that. And then we can add a corn header later. That can do sunflowers and corn. And then if we want to do poplar, we can get a header for that also. So it just kind of narrows it down. But that looks, I think that's what we're going to look for as far as getting our farm. Now we've still got 2 more huge contracts to do. This one over here and this one up here. But if we look into that, we're looking at about 26,000 for those 3 contracts. They are going to probably take us most of this string to finish, but we'll let him finish this row and then we'll take over. Alright, let's go ahead and stop the worker. Let's go ahead and cut our steering assist back on. Now this cultivator is very small, but we're only going to be using it for contracts because, like I said, I don't cultivate, I plow. With the exception of if we decide to do rice, we'll have to cultivate. So we're not going to get rid of the cultivator. Now, I do need to look on the map. Once we get going down this next road and find where we can get gas, because we're going to need gas here pretty soon. We'll probably go ahead and do it after this contract is over. So let's look on the map real quick while we're doing that and find where gas is. There's an electric charging station. Maybe the store has one. We'll look. If not, we're going to have to put us down a refueling station at home. Which, I mean, we were going to do anyway. I just didn't want to do it right away. But we may have to, because I don't see one on the map anywhere. Well, we're 38% done with this one. So I think what we'll probably end up having to do is go into here and go to containers and get this right here. Didn't want to spend that, but it'll be good to have the fuel where we can buy fuel at our farm. So, and that'll also allow us to buy fertilizer, seed, all that stuff there. It basically you can buy anything you want at that particular place. So we may have to go ahead and put that down. Alright, let's go ahead and get spun around again here. So by the time we get to the end of this row, we should be about 50%. So it's still going to leave it, even if we put down that station, which I've pretty much decided we're going to go ahead and do that because I don't feel like looking for the fuel on the map. Um, we're gonna put that down, and that way we can buy whatever we need to buy at our farm. So we're gonna have to do a couple of contracts to do it. We won't be able to do it after this one. I think we have enough fuel to get the contracts done, but we're definitely gonna have to fill up after that. But if we look at our contracts here, the one we're doing is going to pay us 7,000, and the next one is going to pay us about 9,000. So that will be enough to put it and our sell point down. And then the last one we do will give us enough to buy our second greenhouse. So we will have our greenhouses that we're going to have for right now. We may do more later, but as for right now, that's going to be the only ones we do. And we may not ever need another one. So it just really depends on how much they produce. But we're producing strawberries, lettuce, and tomatoes, and that will give us a little bit of money coming in each month, just so we're not just making money off of the contracts. But we'll be able to get our sell point down and our buying point down, I guess you could call it. And that will be for everything. As far as, we'll be able to buy seeds, fertilizer, lime. We'll be able to buy our diesel there. If we need crops for production later on, we can buy them there. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's get it flipped around here. Alright. But that is where we are at the beginning. But at least we are making a little bit of product now. Let's look and see how much they've made. Alright, so we have 170 liters so far. So these produce pretty quick. I didn't cut one of them, or yeah, I did. Okay. All right, yeah. So 170-ish liters of each one. So about a little over, almost a fifth of each one, almost a fifth of a pallet for each one. So let's, let's go ahead and just start going up and down this way. But if you're new and you haven't watched before, we started with a tractor, a fertilizer spreader, 4 pallets of fertilizer, and that was it. No money. We've had to do contracts to get everything we have. We did enough contracts to buy a cultivator and a plow, and then we've done enough contracts since then to get number 46 up there, which is where our, if you can't really see because all our stuff is on it, it's covered up, but 46 is our piece of land. We turned that into a little small yard. It's going to have our house, a couple of greenhouses, and eventually a production and also a buying station there. So, and our sell point. We can't use anything on the map as far as productions or sell points or anything like that. We have to sell it at our own place. That's more or less for me, just so I don't have to haul stuff as far to sell it. But I like having to use our own stuff, so that's where we are, and we are trying to work toward getting our buying station and our sell point down, and then another greenhouse, and then we're going to start working towards saving for equipment and land. We're going to start with 44, which I believe is 60 something thousand. That'll be our first piece of land that we can use to farm on. Not sure what we'll plant there. It will be something that we can plant with a seeder, because the only thing we can remotely afford is the cheap seeder, the little 4.5 meter seeder. But that will be, hopefully it won't take us too long. But we can do as many contracts as we want until we have 2 pieces of farmable land, which we're not gonna purchase any more land for anything but that for right now. We're gonna have only farmable land, purchasing for until we have 2 pieces, and then we're gonna limit ourselves to 5 contracts per month. It doesn't matter what the contracts are, just we can only do 5 after that. And then once we have 6 pieces of land, we can only do 2 contracts. And then after that, we will be, after we buy our 7th piece of land, I have decided that we will do no more contracts. So we will have to be self-sustaining after we have our 7th piece of property. Animals, we will do cows, chickens, and goats. That is it. We won't be doing any other animals on this playthrough. And like I said, we can't use any productions on the map. Everything that we get has to be purchased ourselves and produced ourselves. And we also cannot save products. We have to sell every month. So no matter what it is and how many we have, we can't save it until the best time of year. The only exception to that would be wood chips. If we do wood chips at any point, wood chips we will sell in January, because that's really the only time you can make profit off of them. But that would be the only thing that we would store until until we can sell it at the best price. And that's just because wood chips are terrible except in January. So we will. That will be the only thing we'll be allowed to store, and we'll have to store it in a silo. Um, we won't be doing any baling on this one either. I will be using the fermenting silo to make TMR and all that. Um, so we'll be using forage wagons to pick up our straw and our grass, so we can use it to make TMR. We won't be selling TMR, even though it is a decent amount of money you can make off of it. We won't be selling silage or TMR. We'll be storing it to make feed with. So when we do have cows, we'll have plenty of feed for them. Um, but yeah, and we are playing on hard economy, so we're not going to be making just tons of money off those produce pallets to start with. You know, everything's going to be, we'll get paid less. That's why these contracts are less than what you would normally see, because we're playing on hard economy. We can't borrow money. Now, we did have to borrow some at the beginning, but we paid it back as soon as we finished that contract because we didn't have enough money to buy any fertilizer. Um, because I bought the plow prematurely, but we were only borrowing it for that one contract and we repaid it immediately. So, no borrowing. We can't lease any equipment. So, we can't do contracts unless we own the equipment to do those contracts. So, like right now, even though there's tons of harvesting contracts that we could benefit from financially, uh, we can't get them. I mean, that would be a lot of money, but we have to borrow the contracts. Therefore, we can't do it. So, I would love to buy a baler and a wrapper, um, but we would be limited even still, um, on what contracts we could do, because some of them would be square and some of them would be round. And then, so you basically, got to spend about 300,000, and it's not going to be worth it for us to spend that kind of money for bales, because we're not going to have a use for them other than contracts. So, the baling contracts pay a lot, and they're easy and they're fast. Mowing contracts, if we end up getting enough money before we have all that land to buy mowers, we might do some mowing contracts because they're also quick and easy. But, and we will be getting mowers because we're going to be having to do grass to be able to sustain cows and goats. Um, and we may buy a baler, um, but we won't be selling baler. If we buy a baler, it will be just to bale some of the grass that we cut to feed to the goats, because it's easier to do bales than it is to have to go and fill it with grass all the time. So we'll probably buy a little cheap round baler, cheapest one we can get, which they're still not cheap. I say cheap, but they're really not cheap at all. We'll look at that here once we get going down this row. Alright. Alright, so let's look into baling. Yeah, we'll probably, like I said, we'll probably get a baler. Yeah, the cheapest round baler is that one there. Makes 120 centimeter bales. We might get that one. Oh, that's a square baler anyway. We want round balers. Uh, yeah, there we go. 60,000. Looks like the cheapest one we can get. Well, there's one for 35. We might get that one. Might get that $35,000 baler to do bales just for our goats. Um, we won't be selling silage or anything like that. It's a good way to make money, but before we buy a baler, we would have to have a mower anyway, and our mowers are going to be, because I'm not going to do the single mower. It takes too long. Um, so the mowers that we will be purchasing are going to be these down here. So what, 88.5 for the mowers. Yeah, we could do these, but I'm not sure that these do the swath. I know these do, so we'll get the Pottinger ones. And I actually like using those. So, all right, so that contract is done. Let's go ahead and head up to field 11. So we're gonna have to go. Let's see. I think it would be quicker for us to go up this way, hit the main road, and then go over from there. Been having to find a path through the trees, which can be difficult. And actually, since we're going this way, we'll probably go do the bigger field next, and then we'll do field 11 last. Alright, so let's go to field 35. But yeah, my goal is to where we don't have to do contracts very often at all after December. I basically want to be, making enough money off of our own stuff to maintain. But we'll see how that goes. How plans are in FS25. They don't always go your way, so. But that's what our plan is anyway. Alright, we're going to be turning right here. Go around the little pond here. Alright, and then field number 35 is the one we were in, okay? So we're definitely going to let the workers start this one, just because of the funky shape. So let's go ahead and get him started. Alright, let's go H. We'll go back to worker. We'll let him get started. Okay. Yeah, worker. That's what I did wrong. Okay. Alright, now he will start. Alright, let's go ahead and accept our contract. Okay. Any more cultivating? Yep, there is another one at 118, which is way back where we just were. We'll probably end up grabbing that. We may end up doing fertilizing in between, though. We'll see. These two are going to take a while. Don't even know if we'll get these done in this, other than these two done in this stream. We should. This one's going to take quite a bit. We're just going to let the worker do the headlands just so we'll have a place to turn around. But I guess we can do it. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it ourselves. Instead of just sitting here. Let's go ahead and put steering assist on. We'll just do it. It's not going to be any faster for us to do it with a worker, so plus it's spending our money. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one in pieces. We're going to do this funky area here first, and then we'll do the big part of the field. We're going to go ahead and do the headland on this part. We're going to go ahead and do a headland all the way around, and then we'll cut that off there, because we're going to need some room to do some turning. Let's go ahead and yeah, this field's going to take a while. This actually has two funky areas in it, so we may just go ahead and do all the headland. Actually just go ahead and get this part done, this little outcropping. Now, this is a field, if I bought, I would definitely get rid of those trees and turn that into farmable ground. But I don't think we're going to be coming this way. We're going to stick on the right side of the map, on the right side of the main road there. I think on normal economy, this field would probably pay about 20 grand, which would be nice. Alright, so we're almost 25% complete with this one. This one's going to take a while. And if you are watching and you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to hit that like button, that notification bell, so you know when we're streaming again. But we will be streaming FS25 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, starting between 8 and 8:30, going till around 11:30. We started a little bit early tonight, but most of the time that's going to be our time slot. 28%. This is a really big field. One of the biggest on the map. Not the biggest, but one of them. So I'm interested in what y'all think about the series so far. So please don't forget to comment in the live chat. Also comment down below if you're watching on the replay. This is not a survival challenge. I wouldn't call it that. I'd call it a build from scratch challenge. The real challenge is not being able to purchase anything on the map, having to purchase everything on our own property. Even, like I said, we're going to be putting down a multi-fruit buying station that also does diesel. So we'll be purchasing everything on our own farm. Now that isn't really, doesn't really matter. It just makes it easier for me to not have to go, like if I need diesel, to go have to find a diesel pump. I can just get it at the farm and not have to worry about it anymore. But selling our stuff at our sell point, that's more, like I said, more for me than it is part of the challenge. We're doing that so we don't have to travel to sell our stuff, basically. There is really no benefit either or, because it's not going to make a difference when it comes to selling stuff. You get more price points. We'll just have to take whatever we can get. The challenge is that we can't hold stuff for best profit. We have to sell it every month, with the exception of wood chips. So that's where the challenge mainly comes in, is having to hold on to our products. And we're going to go ahead and kind of straighten this out, get this little bit here so we can just go up and down. We're 40% complete with this one. Not taking as long as I thought it would. Alright, so 50%. But we are gonna, like I said, hopefully, I want to try to refresh contracts again in this month. See if we can't get some plowing or cultivating contracts, because they don't cost us anything. The fertilizing contracts, obviously, we have to buy fertilizer. Um, but hopefully, we can get some more cultivating and plowing contracts, because all we have to do is do the work. So, let's go ahead and check and make sure nothing else has come up in the sale. Nope. If a piece of equipment comes up that we need comes up in the sale, we're going to work toward that instead of something else. But and mainly what we're looking for are implements. I really prefer to buy tractors and harvesters new, because the repairs don't matter as much on like trailers and seeders and things like that, because it doesn't affect their efficiency. But tractors, it does. Affects horsepower. Harvesters, it affects horsepower as well. And I think even the yield, but I'm not 100% sure on that part. I know it affects their power. Let's get that one. So 58% complete. Yeah, like I said, these two contracts are going to take most of our stream here. I think we are going to go ahead and pick up this other cultivating contract, though, because like I said, it's just doing the work, doesn't cost us anything. Alright, but we probably will do a little bit of fertilizing if we have time. But we'll keep checking for plowing contracts as well. Yep. For about another hour, and then I'm gonna probably record a video before we go to bed. Alright, so we are 69%, almost 70% done with this one. Then we got two more to do. We'll try to get these done in the next hour. We're going to stop streaming about 10:30. Alright, so 78% now. About 7 more times up and down. We'll be done with this one. Maybe 8. So, like I said, we are going to purchase our buying station and our sell point, and then we're going to start working on more equipment. Um, we may try to move on to the next month after we do these contracts. I really would like to do those fertilizing contracts. So what I may do is, well, we'll just see where we are when it gets time to stop. I'm hoping we can get some of those fertilizing contracts done too, because I believe we can spend about um, 6,000 or so and make about. Let's just check real quick. All right, so 3, 4. That'd be 5,000. 7, 8, 9. That'd be another 9,300. So maybe if we can, fill up our fertilizer spreader and do those, will give us a little bit more operating cash. We'll see where we're at when we get through with these 2 contracts, or 3 contracts. We're almost done with this one. And then we got 2 more to do, and we'll see where we're at. I really would like to move on to the next month, but I want to try to make as much money as I can this month. We still got about 50 minutes left in our stream, so we'll see what we can get done. I mean, we'll go ahead and fill our fertilizer spreader anyway, because we're going to need to. If we're going to do any more contracts, so let's go ahead. Like I said, we got to get done with the cultivating contracts first, and I do believe those cultivating contracts are going to take most of our time. So we may still be in September when we come back Friday, or we may move on. It just depends on what I'm feeling when we get there. Probably will do those fertilizing contracts because, we'll spend some money filling our fertilizer spreader, but we should be able to do all those contracts with that. None of those fields are terribly big, so and just a couple more passes here and we'll be through with this one. Actually, we may finish on the next pass. Just depends on how much it gives us credit for. Yeah, we'll probably have to do at least part of the other one. Alright, let's go ahead and get spun around here. Oop. Get back straight. Nope, that one. That's the one I want. There we go. Let's get over to field 11. Looks like that's field 11 right there. It's a long field. I like this map. I like the fact that all the fields are different shapes. There's a bunch of long straight fields like this, and there's a bunch like the one we just finished with weird corners and outcroppings and stuff like that. Can't go ahead and collect the money on that contract though. Well, there is another cultivating contract, so definitely accept that. And we can go ahead and get that one. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's do this. Put it back on AI worker, hit OK. And we're just going to let him do that. We're going to head up to our field and our land. We'll let him do that while we're working there. So let's go ahead and visit that. Alright, now we're going to put our purchase point right over here. So let's try and get that done. We're going to put it right here by in the corner by the house where that tree is. So let's go into that. Go here. We want this right here. I think we're going to put it right. Let's go to Would be, yeah. Alright. And then our cell point we're going to put right here by the house. Instruction. We're going to here and go to cell points. And we're going to put in this one right here. And this is going to be our sell point to sell our stuff. Let's see how that, pretty even. I can live with that. Alright, and let's check our production, see where we are. Okay, so yeah, 220 liters. Not too bad. Alright. We'll let him finish the headland, and then we'll, or finish this strip, and then we'll take back over. Alright, put that back down. And go ahead and do that. So yeah, I think we'll get these cultivating contracts done. That's where we'll end our stream. But before we end, we will go ahead and move on to the next month. I don't know how much field work stuff we'll get, but we'll try. In October well, definitely October, we're going to be doing as many as possible, because November and December we won't see a lot of contracts. So as far as stuff we can do, so October we will be in for quite a bit. But with these cultivating contracts we have, we're going to finish them up on this stream, and then we will move on to to October. In October we're gonna, I guess you could say, min-max the amount of contracts we can do. We'll refresh and do every contract we can possibly do with the equipment we have, because I would like to go ahead and start buying more equipment. We're not going to be able to plant anything until spring, so when we do get land, so we're going to have to hope that these contracts will in October will kind of put us where we need to be. We will get another greenhouse, and we are going to try to get us a production building of some sort, so that we can make money during those months where we're not going to be having a lot of contracts available to us. So So we'll be about, let's look at our contracts again. So this is going to give us another, call that, 9,000, so 18, almost $19,000, which will put us halfway to our production building almost. So we're hoping at least in October to get enough contracts to be able to get our production building down. I really want to do those fertilizing contracts, but we're not going to have time, and I'd like to move on to the next month. I don't want to just sit here in September forever. I mean, it won't take us long to do those fertilizing contracts, so we'll see where we're at after we put our other greenhouse. Yeah, I think, we're going to put down another greenhouse, so we'll do that, and then we'll probably wait until next stream to move on. So we'll probably do those fertilizing contracts unless another cultivating or plowing contract comes up, because right now we only have these. Oh, we do have a plowing contract, so that's actually not that far from us. So we might stay in September a little longer. I really would like to get that production building if we can. We'll see what happens. Because like I said, we're gonna be limited to what we can do after October. Because October is the last month for any kind of harvest. Maybe November. We might get a few in November. We're not going to get a lot for sure. Let's go ahead and pick that up so we're not tearing up this field here. Let's go ahead and get over on this one. Slower down. Alright, so we'll probably just stay in September. I mean, I really want to move on, but fiscally it's more responsible for us to make as much as we can. Because thinking about November, December, we're not going to have a lot of contracts, and we will have our greenhouses up and running, and hopefully our production building up and running, so that will give us some income during those months. And that will, with that building, we will be able to turn on more stuff in our greenhouses to maximize our amount of products we're getting. We are going to be spawning lettuce, tomatoes, and strawberries until we can actually use something to make make something to use the strawberries in. So and I don't know if there is a mod or some kind of production that uses the tomatoes and the lettuce, but if we can find one that uses those, we will, because I really want to be able to maximize our productions. But I know the production building we have will make pretty much all the canned goods, and it makes milk, the milk, the cheese, the butter, buffalo mozzarella, the bottled goat milk, goat cheese. It even makes wool and furniture. Now we might use, or I don't know if it makes furniture, but I know it does cloth. But we're not gonna be doing the cloth and stuff, so let's go ahead and spin around. So we'll just stream till 10:30. We'll be where we are, and then we will pick back up in this. I just really don't thinking about it, um, I really don't think we're going to have much of a contracts in November and December. And like I said, I really want to minimize the amount of contracts we're doing after the end of this calendar year. Um, and looking at the time, we're probably only going to get this one and 26 done anyway, um, in this stream. So we're definitely going to stay in September. That way we have that plowing contract, we have some more fertilizing contracts. We should be able to get pretty close to our production building. May not get all of it, but we can get pretty close to being able to get that before we move on to October. And we might even get more contracts. We'll do as many contracts as we can in September and October, because like I said, I don't think November and December we're going to have much to do other than sell our few products that we have. I'm thinking ahead here, and I just don't think we're going to have a lot to do in November and December. So we're just going to maximize what we can. Because honestly, doing 4 or 5 contracts in each month is what I want to be at until we have our 6 properties, and then at that point, at 6 properties, I'm hoping we don't have to do any contracts, because that's going to give us more stuff for productions and things like that. Now, I'm going to ask for y'all's opinion, if you want us to use seasonal growth, or if you want us to just be able to plant what we want to plant. I'm going to leave that up to y'all. So leave in the comments if you want to see us do seasonal growth, or if you want us to just be able to plant what we want to plant to maximize. But seasonal will definitely make it a little more difficult, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind the challenge. So we'll see what y'all say. We'll go from there. Alright, so we'll just get what we can get done in the next 28 minutes, and then we'll pick up where we leave off on Friday. But we should, after this, I think this is what, 11? Yeah. Yeah, we'll be able to put down our other greenhouse after this, and go ahead and get that one producing pallets for us as well. 26 looks like it's another long, pretty long field. So, yeah, we definitely probably won't even get all of these contracts done. But let's go ahead and accept that plowing contract because I don't want it to disappear. So let's go ahead and accept that. We won't accept the fertilizing ones until we're ready to do them, but they're already starting to populate. We have 5 of them, and we may get more cultivating contracts. So but before we go do the last well, we'll see where we're at on fuel. I don't know how much we're going to have. We may have to go back up to our farm after this one and fill it. We'll probably do that. And then we'll start on 26 and get as much of it done as we can. Because we're getting pretty low on the diesel. So we'll go back up over to our farm, put down our other... I think that's what we'll do. We'll finish this one up. We'll go back to our farm, put down our other greenhouse, get it going, fill it up with water, turn on those productions, and then we'll pick up where we left off on Friday. Because we got 26, and we'll probably go ahead and we may try to do that plowing contract if we have time. It's not a very big field at all. So we may try to do that one and then do these other cultivating contracts in the next stream, along with whatever other contracts we can pick up. So we may go get our fuel, put down our production, and go try to get that plowing contract done. Just get as much done as we can in this stream. And ideally, if we could, I would love to be able to buy another tractor like that little Challenger tractor, and let them do cultivating contracts with that tractor, and then um, we can do other contracts. So cultivating and fertilizing, we'll do plowing ourselves, um, because we need this tractor for that. But that would free us up to do some contracts ourselves and let them, work in the background and make a little extra money for us. Yeah, it does cost a little bit for the workers, but not terrible. We're 84% complete. Let's go ahead and let's refresh contracts and see what comes up. Alright, nothing. Nothing we can do anyway. Okie doke. So we are 92%. We'll have to come down part of this next strip to finish this contract. But then we will go back. Looks like we're not going to have a lot of time. I'm still going to try to do that plowing contract because it's not going to take long. But we definitely will not get any more of the cultivating contracts done. And now I will not be doing any kind of off-camera work or anything like that in this series. It's going to be all done on stream. We won't be doing any off-camera stuff. It'll all be done. You will see everything. But we're going to go ahead, like I said, we're going to go and get this, when we get this contract done, we're going to go ahead and go back and put down our other greenhouse and get it filled up. And then we're probably just going to put the plow on the front of this. And that'll probably be where we end the stream. I mean, we're 15 minutes away, so we'll see. I may try to get that plowing contract done because it's just the one, and we could just leave the plow on the front as we're doing the cultivating on the others. Yeah, I'll probably go ahead and do that. We may go a little bit longer than I planned, but it won't be too much longer because we are about done with this. Alright, let's go ahead and pick that up. Let's head over to the house. Go ahead and drop this right here for now. Alright, let's drop that. Let's go and get hooked up to our water trailer. Get flipped around here. Alright, let's go ahead and go in our P menu. Construction. Go back to greenhouses. Get this. Rotate it around this way. Oh, we gotta accept our contract first. Deer. Alright, let's get that. And accept that one. Alright, then we can put it down. Alright, and let's go to B mode. Give us a little bit of room in between. Alright. Let's go ahead and go to production. And let's click on this. Let's cut our stuff on. Activate. Activate and activate. Okay. Let's get some water in that one. Let's go ahead and park this back over here where it can be filling up. Let's actually spin it around this way. And we're going to cut this tree down and just kind of set it off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and do that. This tree's in the way. Alright, let's go ahead and move this one over. We're just going to drop it off in the ditch over here. on our greenhouse. We'll eventually use it. Get it out of the way, because that's going to impede our... Alright, let's drop that off. It should continue to fill. Alright, let's put the pile on the front here. And let's go back and pick up this. Let's head to field number 2, which is straight this way. We can actually go ahead and make our map a little smaller. Know where we're going. Let's go ahead and switch our tool. This is field 3. Next one is field 2. Let's go ahead and unfold our plow. Let's back up. Let's lower the plow down. And that's the beauty of this plow, is that we can do it this way. fold it up. I said fold it up. There we go. Alright, we'll go ahead and get over to field 26. And that's where we're going to end our stream. So I believe this is field 26, and this is where we'll start off next time. Let's go ahead and back up. Kind of get us lined up where we can just start. Alright, well, that is where we're going to stop today's stream, guys. I do appreciate y'all being with me here today. This is Rock. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that like button, that notification bell. Also, don't forget to leave comments down below. All that stuff for you is free, and it helps me and the channel grow, and I do appreciate all the support you've given me so far. You guys rock. I love you guys. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you in the next one.